The text said 3 words, "Going to be late." No kiss, no joke, just a period. Paige Ashford locked her phone and smoothed the yellow dress over her thigh. She was black, beautiful, slender, 29 years old, a clinical nutritionist with her own downtown practice, and her name engraved in silver on the glass plaque outside her office door. She had built that office herself. She had also stopped asking, somewhere along the way, what her husband's evening meetings really were. His name was Kang Min-seok, 34, Korean, a dragon tattooed in fine black lines on the right side of his neck, half hidden by the collar of a graphite suit. In the underworld, he was called Snow Wolf. At home, he was the man who poured her coffee. She stepped onto the sidewalk in golden hour light. Across the avenue, a black sedan idled at the curb. No driver, no guards. Just her husband getting out alone, tucking his chin into the line of his coat the way men do when they do not want to be seen. He should have been on the other side of the river. He was here. She followed him on foot, 6 blocks, behind office workers, behind a parked van. The yellow dress was a flag in the dying light, and she did not care. He stopped under a white awning. She knew the brass letters above it before her eyes adjusted. It was the hotel where they had met. And then the glass door opened from inside, and a woman she had never seen was holding it open for him. Before starting the story, comment down below where you are watching from and what time it is there. If stories of karma, love, and hidden truths move you, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a member and help our channel. Paige Ashford slid the last patient file into the cabinet and closed the drawer with her hip. The yellow dress moved with her, hugged her waist, sat right. She caught her own reflection in the glass of the cabinet door and held it for a half-second. Tired eyes. Lipstick still clean. The wedding band still bright on her hand. She slipped the white lab coat off her shoulders and folded it twice. Sleeves in, collar flat. The way her mother had taught her to fold things that mattered. She placed the coat in the caramel leather bag at her feet and zipped it shut. Her last patient of the day had been a woman who cried about her son's blood sugar for 20 minutes before letting Paige speak. Paige had let her. That was the job. People paid her to read lab work, but they came for someone to sit still while their lives leaked out. The phone on her desk buzzed. Min-seok. Going to be late, meeting. 3 words, a period. No emoji, no kiss, no joke. 2 years ago, he would have written a whole sentence. A year ago, half. Now this. She typed back, "Be safe, I love you." She watched the bubble go from gray to blue. She waited. The 3 dots came up. They stayed up for a long second. Then they vanished. No reply. Paige set the phone face down on the desk. She smoothed the yellow fabric over her thigh, picked up the bag, and walked out of her office. In the hallway, she passed the glass plaque with her name engraved in silver. Paige Ashford, MS, Clinical Nutrition. She had paid for that plaque herself. She had paid for the office, the cabinets, the lease. Min-seok had offered. She had said no. She had said it with a smile and a kiss and the words, "I want you to know I built this." He had not insisted. He never insisted with her. That was one of the things she loved. It was also one of the things that, lately, she could not stop noticing. The elevator door closed and the small mirror inside showed her again. She did not adjust her hair. The curls were on her shoulders the way they always were. Healthy, loose, lit gold by the cabin light. She locked her phone screen and stared at the floor numbers descending. She had stopped asking, somewhere along the way, what those meetings actually were. He had told her once, the 2nd month they were together, that there were parts of his work he could never bring home. She had nodded. She had believed in walls between rooms. She still did. But a wall is one thing when you are first married. A wall 2 years in when your husband texts you 3 words at 6 in the evening. A wall is something else. The doors opened on the lobby. "Drive safe, Dr. Ashford." Eleanor Briggs stood behind the concierge desk in her navy blazer, reading glasses on the beaded chain across her chest. Her short salt-and-pepper hair caught the lamplight. She had said the same words every weekday for 2 years, and Paige had never once heard her voice without warmth in it. Always MS. "Eleanor," Paige said. "You all right, baby?" Paige paused with her hand on the door. She turned, smiled the smile she had been smiling all afternoon, and gave the answer she always gave. "I'm fine." Elinor looked at her over the rim of the glasses. She did not press. She just nodded, slow, the way an older woman nods when she has decided not to say what she sees. Paige stepped out onto the sidewalk. Golden hour. The buildings on the other side of the street were on fire with it. The glass faces of the towers lit orange-pink, neon signs flickering on one by one as the day let go. A black town car eased past her toward the corner. A delivery boy ran across the crosswalk with 2 paper bags. Somebody's perfume drifted by, jasmine and money. She turned right toward the parking garage and stopped. Across the avenue, a black sedan was at the curb. No driver in the front seat. No one walking around it. Just the car, idling. And then the back door opened and her husband got out alone. Minsiok. His dark overcoat was buttoned at the chest, the graphite suit clean underneath, the white shirt sharp at the collar. He shut the door of the sedan with one hand, looked left, looked right, and tucked his chin into the line of his coat the way men did when they did not want to be seen. The car pulled off without him. No driver waved. No one rolled down a window. Her husband, who never moved without a driver, who never traveled in this part of town, who at this moment was supposed to be in a meeting on the other side of the river, was standing on the opposite sidewalk, alone, scanning the block. He started walking. Paige did not think. Her body decided before her mouth could catch up. She stepped behind a group of office workers waiting at the light and let them shield her. She crossed when they crossed. 3 feet behind, then 6, then 10. She kept her bag close to her ribs and her heels quiet. The yellow dress was a problem. The yellow dress was a flag in golden hour light. She walked behind taller people. She turned her shoulders. She kept moving. Block 1, he did not look back. Block 2, he passed a flower stand and did not stop. Block 3, his pace slowed at a crosswalk and her heart hit her ribs. Block 4, he turned east. Block 5, the streetlights were coming on. Block 6, he stopped under a white awning. Paige stopped behind a parked van and put one hand flat against the cold metal to keep herself upright. She had walked these streets with him before. She had walked this exact corner with him before. She knew, before her eyes adjusted to the brass letters above the awning, where he had brought her. It was the hotel where they had met. Paige pressed her shoulder against the cold marble column at the entrance and forced her breathing to slow. The brass letters above the awning threw a soft, golden reflection across the sidewalk. Inside, behind the revolving glass, the chandelier of the lobby was already lit, even though the sun had not fully dropped. She had stood in that exact spot 2 years and 4 months ago, holding a clutch she had borrowed from a friend, waiting for a man she had only met twice. She remembered the dress she had worn that night. She remembered the rain. She remembered the way he had walked out of that revolving door, seen her, and stopped, as if the city itself had stopped with him. Now the same revolving door spun, and Minsiok walked in without looking back. Her hand went to her stomach the way it always did when something was about to hurt. The caramel bag slipped down her shoulder. She did not adjust it. A taxi honked behind her. A woman in heels brushed past her saying something in another language. Paige did not move. What bound them, she had always told herself, was the silence. She had agreed to it on their 3rd date when he had set his fork down and said quietly, "There are parts of my work I will not bring into our house." She had nodded. She had loved him for the warning. For 2 years and 4 months, she had built a marriage on top of that: packed, clean dinners, clean sheets, clean mornings, and she had stopped, somewhere along the way, asking what the pact was actually protecting her from. The pact, she understood now, had a price, and the hotel was where it was about to be charged. She pushed off the column. Her stilettos struck the pavement in 3 quick steps, and then she stopped again. Through the glass, in the warm cream and gold of the lobby, she saw a woman cross the marble floor toward the door. Platinum blonde hair, fair skin, an off-white midi dress cinched at the waist. The woman pushed the revolving door from inside and held the second compartment open for Minsiok, the way a wife would, or the way someone who had once been a wife would. Paige saw her own reflection in the glass before she saw anything else. Yellow dress, curls on her shoulders. eyes wide. A woman she did not entirely recognize. She walked in. The marble was colder than she expected through the thin soles. Heads turned, they always did when she walked into rooms, but tonight the attention scraped her skin. A bellhop offered to take her bag. She shook her head without slowing down. Beyond the reception desk, past the white orchids in the tall glass vases, the lobby opened into a private alcove with 2 cream lounge chairs angled toward each other. Min Seok was sitting in one of them. The blonde woman was lowering herself into the other. Between them, on the low table, sat 2 untouched coffees and a single black folder. Paige's heels were the loudest sound in the room. Min Seok's eyes found her 3 steps before she reached the alcove. He did not stand. He did not flinch. He set his palm flat on top of the black folder, the way a man covers a knife on a table when a stranger walks in. The dragon tattoo on the right side of his neck shifted under the collar of his white shirt. Paige. The blonde woman looked up without surprise, as if she had been expecting her, as if the only person in this entire lobby who had not been expecting this moment was Paige herself. 2 coffees, Paige said. Her voice was steadier than she had earned. Neither of you is drinking. Sit down. I am not sitting down. Paige. He said her name a second time, lower. Sit down. She did not sit. She set the caramel bag on the empty 3rd chair and folded her arms loosely across her chest, the way she folded them in her practice when a patient lied to her about what they had eaten. The blonde woman watched her with a calm that was almost gentle. Who is she? Min Seok did not answer for a beat. His hand slid the folder a few inches toward Paige across the polished low table. Open it. I asked you who she is. Seo Yuna. He said the name without inflection. She is my partner in an old shell operation that I closed 6 years before I met you. There is no romance. There has never been romance. Open the folder, Paige. Paige did not move her hands. Yuna lifted one finger toward the folder, slow, asking permission. Min Seok nodded once. Yuna opened it herself. Inside was one photograph on top of a stack of documents. Glossy. Long lens grain. The photograph showed a woman in a vibrant yellow dress stepping out of the glass doors of a downtown medical tower, a caramel bag on her shoulder, a phone in her hand. The angle was high and across the street. The light was the wrong day's light, softer, 3 afternoons ago. Paige looked at her own face on the table for a long time. The yellow of the dress on the photograph was the same yellow she was wearing right now. That was Tuesday, she said, quietly. Tuesday, Yuna repeated. Min Seok did not say anything. Paige's lips parted the way they always did when something cut clean through her, for 1 second, just one, and then she closed them again and lifted her chin. She had walked into this lobby looking for another woman. The woman she had found was herself, photographed through a telephoto lens, by someone she had never seen on a day she had thought was ordinary. She turned the photograph over with 2 fingers. On the back, written in small block letters in dark ink, was a single line. Subject confirmed, awaiting green light. Her hand did not tremble, not yet. She looked up at her husband and asked the only question that mattered now. How long have you known they were watching me? Min Seok did not answer right away. His dark eyes stayed on her face like a man measuring the weight of a wound he himself had opened. The dragon tattoo on the right side of his neck shifted under the white collar as he tilted his head, just enough for the linework to catch the warm lobby light. Across the low table, Yuna lowered her gaze to the black folder, giving them the courtesy of not watching. 3 weeks, he finally said. His voice was quieter than the chandelier above them. Maybe 4. Paige felt the number land in her chest the way a stone lands in still water. 3 weeks, 21 mornings of pulling that yellow dress over her head and walking out the door of their apartment. 21 cups of coffee at the small place on the corner of 8th, the one with the cinnamon rolls she pretended not to want. 21 elevator rides up to the 7th floor of the medical tower. 21 polite nods to the security guard she had been smiling at without knowing his name had been chosen by her husband. 3 weeks of her life, mapped on paper by strangers in a dark utility jacket with a telephoto lens, while she had been smiling at I love you texts in the elevator. She reached for the folder. Min-seok did not stop her. Her fingers, the ones that measured grams of protein for her patients with the steadiness of a surgeon, trembled exactly once as she opened it. The first page was a printed schedule. Her schedule. Monday, practice opens 8:00. Tuesday, spin class at the studio on 5th, 6:30 a.m. Wednesday, late consult, leaves at 7:10 p.m. The handwriting in the margin was not hers. It was small, neat, masculine. Notes in Korean she could not read sat next to the times like quiet little soldiers. She turned the page. A diagram of the medical tower. 3 red dots near the entrance. 1 near the parking garage. 1 near the elevator bank on the 7th floor. Each red dot had a name beside it. Each name was a man she had walked past every single day for 3 weeks and never seen. The next page was worse. A photograph of her own black sedan, taken from above, with arrows pointing to 4 spots underneath the chassis. A note, clean, swept Tuesday, Friday. Her car had been searched for bombs twice a week, and she had been adjusting her mirror and singing along to the radio. Paige closed the folder slowly. She set it back on the low table between the 2 untouched coffees. The cream of the porcelain cups, the gold rim, the white orchid in the tall vase behind Yuna, all of it suddenly looked obscene to her, like a stage built to soften something that should never have been soft. She did not raise her voice. She had promised herself, somewhere on the second block of following him, that whatever happened inside this hotel, she would not raise her voice. She had kept harder promises than that. "You hired men to walk beside me," she said. Her almond eyes did not leave his. "You put a sweeper on my car. You sat in this hotel with your ex-wife to coordinate the protection of my body. And the only person in this entire operation who did not know my life was in danger was me." Min-seok's jaw worked once. He did not look away. "I was going to tell you," he said. "When?" It was not a question. It was a verdict. "After they tried. After a man in a gray jacket put a hand on me at the elevator, and your guard broke his wrist in front of my patients. After I came home and asked you why there was blood on your cuff again." The dragon on his neck moved as he swallowed. For the first time since she had met him, Kang Min-seok, Snow Wolf, the man whose name made bank officers in 3 cities sweat through their shirts, looked at her like a man who had run out of architecture. "I wanted you clean," he said. The words came out lower than the chandelier hum, like a confession dragged from a place he had not visited in a long time. "I wanted one room in my life where my work could not walk through the door. I thought if you did not know, you would not carry it. I thought I was protecting you." Paige's lips parted just slightly. The half-second freeze. The one her mother used to read across the kitchen table when she was 12 and someone at school had said something cruel. Yuna saw it. Yuna's eyes flickered with something that was not satisfaction. It was recognition. "You were protecting yourself," Paige said. Her voice did not shake. "From the version of me that would have asked the right questions 2 years ago. From the wife who would have made you choose. You put me in a pretty room, Min-seok. You put me in a yellow dress and a downtown practice and a wedding band, and you locked the door from the outside and you called that love." He did not answer. The lobby chandelier was the only sound. Somewhere across the cream marble, a bellman wheeled a brass cart on quiet wheels and pretended he could not see them. Paige sat back against the cream sofa. The vibrant yellow of her dress against the pale upholstery looked, in that moment, less like a color and more like a warning sign that had finally been read. She placed her hands flat on her thighs. Her wedding band caught the gold light from above and threw it back at him like a small, polite blade. "I am your wife," she said. Her chin lifted by exactly the degree her mother had taught her on the day of her first job interview. "Not a child you put in a pretty room while you handle the war outside." The words settled on the low table between them like a third folder no one had brought. Min-seok did not blink. Yuna did not breathe. The chandelier did not stop humming. And then, in the silence Paige had built with her own quiet voice, her phone, face down on the cream sofa beside her thigh, began to vibrate against the fabric. Once, twice, a third time. The screen, when she finally turned it over, was lit by a number she did not know. Paige did not pick up the phone. She turned it face down on the cream marble table, sliding it beside the photograph of herself leaving the medical tower 3 days earlier. The chandelier above them clinked faintly, the only voice in the alcove brave enough to speak. Min-seok reached for her hand. She moved it half an inch out of range. Yuna watched the movement. Then she set her coffee cup down without drinking from it and leaned forward, her platinum hair sliding across the shoulder of the off-white blazer. "Paige," the voice was low, not soft the way someone soothes a child, low the way someone admits a thing they have already carried too long. "I don't want your husband." Paige's almond eyes lifted. Her lips parted half an inch, then closed again. She waited. "Our marriage ended 4 years before he met you," Yuna said. "We stayed legally married for 9 months after that because the paperwork on the shell company needed 2 signatures from the same household. That is the entire reason my name still appears next to his on documents from that period. Once the structure was clean, we filed. It was the calmest divorce in Seoul." Min-seok did not look up. His thumb moved once along the edge of the black folder, then stopped. "He never looked at me the way he looks at you," Yuna went on. "Not once, not even on our wedding day." Paige felt the small muscle under her left eye twitch. She did not let it move further. "But he has a defect, Paige." Yuna tilted her head, almost gentle. "He believes loving someone means carrying the danger alone. He thinks silence is a gift. He thinks if he keeps the war on his side of the door, the woman on the other side stays clean." Yuna paused. The diamond stud in her ear caught the warm light. "I lost our marriage to that silence. Not to another woman, not to violence. To a man who came home with bruises on his ribs and told me he had slipped on the stairs for 3 years." The orchids on the side table did not move. Somewhere across the lobby, a woman laughed in Korean, and the laugh died politely against the marble. "Don't lose yours to the same thing." Yuna sat back. She had said what she came to say. Min-seok finally lifted his head. His earpiece was still in, but he reached up and removed it. He placed it on the table beside the photograph, next to his phone, screen still lit by the encrypted call he had been managing for the last 20 minutes. He pressed his thumb against the red circle. The call ended. He looked at Paige. The dragon tattoo on the right side of his neck shifted with his swallow. "I betrayed your trust the moment I decided you didn't deserve to know about your own life." He said it in English. Quiet, direct, no qualifier. "There was a contract on you, a rival house out of Busan. They believed hurting you was the cleanest way to break me. I found out 11 days ago. I had 3 options: tell you and watch you live afraid, hide you and watch you stop being you, or close the door on them before it ever opened on you." He drew a breath. The shoulders under the dark suit moved once and settled. "I chose the third without asking. That was the wrong door, Paige, not because it failed, because it was not mine to choose." Paige was very still. Her wedding band caught a sliver of chandelier light. She looked at the photograph of herself. She looked at the folder of paperwork she had already read once. She looked at Yuna, who was a stranger an hour ago and was now the only person in the room who had said the exact true thing. She did not cry. Her throat did the work behind her tongue, and she did not let it surface. "I want copies," she said. Yuna nodded once. "Of everything, the surveillance, the Busan file, the names, the dates." Paige's voice held flat. "I want the same folder he has, updated weekly, delivered to me, not to him." Min-seok opened his mouth, closed it. "And I want to sit at the table when decisions about my life are being made." She turned to him fully now. "I am not asking for permission, Min-seok. I am telling you the terms." He held her gaze for 3 long seconds. Then he gave the smallest nod a man like him is capable of giving. It was enough. Yuna stood, smoothed the front of her dress, gathered the small designer bag. She paused beside Paige's chair on her way out. She did not touch her. She said only one thing, low enough that only Paige could hear it. "He is worth the work. The silence is not." Then she was gone, heels measured across the cream marble. Min-seok and Paige stood together. The black folder went under his arm. Her caramel bag went over her shoulder. Outside the revolving glass door, the city had moved into deep blue, neon waking up along the avenue. On the white marble steps of the hotel, she found his hand without looking at him. She squeezed it once. I love you, but I will not live competing with your secrets. He lifted her hand and kissed the back of it, just above the wedding band. Then they end today. The black sedan was waiting at the curb. He opened the door for her. She slid into the cream leather, smoothed the yellow dress over her knees, and exhaled for what felt like the first time in 8 hours. He removed his overcoat, set it across his lap, loosened the dark tie, and took her hand again across the seat. The driver pulled away from the white facade. City lights began to slide across the smoked glass, then her phone vibrated against her thigh. Once, twice, a third time, she turned it over slowly. The screen lit her face in pale blue. A number she did not know, one line of text. He didn't tell you everything. Her hand did not tremble. It went very, very still. Min Seok saw the shift in her shoulders before he saw the screen. He leaned across, read the line, and the warmth drained from his eyes in a single blink. Outside, the city kept moving. Inside the cabin, neither of them spoke. She had walked into that hotel looking for another woman. She walked out knowing her real rival had always been her husband's silence. And someone, somewhere in the dark behind them, had just chosen to make sure that silence was not finished with her yet.
If you want to watch all the stories without any ads and also get access to bonus scenes, extended epilogues, and exclusive spicy chapters, head over to our Patreon. Scan the QR code on the screen. The link is in the description or in the pinned comment. See you there.
If this story moved you, stop for a moment and reflect. Have you ever loved someone who decided, without asking, that you were too precious to be told the truth about your own life? Did you mistake their silence for protection, until the silence became the rival you could not fight? And when you finally sat down at the table and named your terms, did the person across from you nod, or did they look away? Tell us your experiences and feelings in the comments. We read them all. And if you believe in stories about dignity, silence, and the courage to demand a seat at the table, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a part of our community and help the channel.